Hello students, today I am going to take up the lesson The Lost Child of class 9 by Mulkraj Anand. Before we start, I would like all of you to like and subscribe my channel and keep looking out for my upcoming videos in English of class 9, 10, 11 and 12. Mulkraj Anand was born on 12th December 1905 and died on 28 September 2004. He was an Indian writer in English. He is well known for his notable description of the lives of the poorer castes in traditional Indian society. Anand is admired for his novels and short stories which have acquired the status of being classic works of modern Indian English literature. He was a recipient of the civilian honor, the Padma Bhushan. The short story, The Lost Child by Mulkraj Anand, is a beautiful sample to prove the expressive powers of the author to draw living characters. It was the festival of spring. From the wintry shades of narrow lanes and alleys emerged a gaily clad humanity. Some walked, some rode on horses, others sat, being carried in bamboo and bullock carts. One little boy ran between his father's legs, brimming over with life and laughter. "Come, child, come," called his parents as he lagged behind, fascinated with the toys in the shops that lined the way. So what happened now? It was a festival of spring. There was a fair in the nearby village, and winter was turning into spring and everyone was going to the fair. There was a small boy and he was running under his father's legs. He was so excited. He was running here and there, and there were so many people who were going towards the fair, and the mother was calling the boy, "Come, child, come," because he went on lagging behind and he was so fascinated by the toys in the shop that lined the way. He hurried towards his parents, his feet obedient to their call, his eyes still lingering on the receding toys. As he came to where they had stopped to wait for him, he could not suppress the desire of his heart, even though he knew that the old cold stare of refusal in their eyes. So what happened now? The boy was running here and there. He was looking at all the things and he wanted to buy those things. But he knew that his parents would not buy those things for him. They would buy things which were really of good use to the boy. And so he wanted things, but he was just looking at all the things beside on the roadside. "I want the toy," he pleaded. His father looked at him, red-eyed in his familiar tyrant ways. His mother, melted by the free spirit of the day, was tender and giving him her finger to hold, said, "Look, child, what is before you?" It was a flowering mustard field, pale like melting gold, as it is swept across miles and miles of even land. So now the boy, as you know, children want toys, want sweets and things like that. And when he said, "I want the toy," his father was very angry, always angry. So he looked at him with his red eyes. And his mother, as mothers all love the children, she didn't want to buy the toy for the boy. So she told him, "Look out, what's in front of you?" And she offered her finger for this little child to hold. And in front of him, he could see the beautiful mustard field. A group of dragonflies were bustling about on their gaudy purple wings, intercepting the flight of a lone black bee or butterfly in search of sweetness from the flowers. The child followed them in the air with his gaze till one of them would still its wings and rest, and he would try to catch it, but it would go fluttering, flapping up into the air. When he had almost caught it in his hands, then his mother gave a cautionary call, "Come, child, come. Come onto the footpath." The child now, when he looked at the field in front of him, he saw over there dragonflies, bees, butterflies, and they were all searching for nectar from the flowers. And he went on chasing those flies and butterflies, and at last he was flapping his hands, and he went on trying to catch them. and at last his mother gave a call to him and asked him to come and join them on the footpath. He ran towards his parents gaily and walked abreast of them for a while, being, however, soon left behind, attracted by little insects and worms along the footpath that were teeming out from the hiding places to enjoy the sunshine. Come, child, come. His parents called from the shade of a grove where they had seated themselves on the edge of a well. He ran towards them. So when his mother called him to the footpath, he ran to the footpath and he started walking in front of his parents, and he looked at the footpath and he saw the sun was shining on the footpath, and little worms and insects were coming out of the hiding places to enjoy the sunshine. So again he was left behind. His parents were already ahead of him. They sat at the edge of a well in a grove. The grove means like a fruit trees grove or any shady grove having lots of trees in them. They sat over there and they called out to the child, and the child ran towards his parents once again. So you can find the child is so excited. I think he must be going to the fair for the first time, because he is a very small boy and is so excited by whatever he is seeing. A shower of young flowers fell upon the child as he entered the grove, and forgetting his parents, he began to gather the raining petals in his hand. But lo, he heard the cooing of doves and ran towards his parents, shouting, "The dove, the dove!" The raining petals dropped from his forgotten hands. Come, child, come, they called to the child, who had now gone running in wild capers round the banyan tree, and gathering him up, they took the narrow winding footpath which led to the fair through the mustard fields. So now what happened? When the parents called the boy and he ran to the grove, at the time the flowers from the trees all started raining on the boy, because there was a wind blowing and the flowers were all falling down, the petals were falling down, and he started gathering the petals, and suddenly he saw some doves and he looked at the doves, he forgot the petals, and then the parents started calling him again, "Come, child." And now when they looked at the child, he was running around the banyan trees and he was gathering up whatever was possible, and so the father picked the boy up and started walking with the boy in his arms, because the boy was so excited and he was not able to keep up with the parents. As they neared the village, the child could see many other footpaths full of throngs converging into the whirlpool of the fair, and felt at once repelled and fascinated by the confusion of the world he was entering. So as soon as he came towards the fair, what did the boy see? He saw so many shops and so many things in the fair, and he was so fascinated and confused by whatever he was seeing. A sweetmeat seller hawked gulab jamun, rasagulla, barfi, jalebi at the corner of the entrance, and a crowd pressed round his counter at the foot of an architecture of many colored sweets decorated with leaves of silver and gold. The child stared open-eyed, and his mouth watered for the barfi that was his favorite sweet. "I want that barfi," he slowly murmured, but he half knew as he begged that his plea would not be heeded, because his parents would say he was greedy. So without waiting for an answer, he moved on. So as soon as they entered the fair, at the entrance only, what they found, the boy found that there were so many sweet sellers selling many types of sweets, and he saw there were lots of sweets arranged in an architecture. He saw that there was barfi over there, and he loved barfi, so he told in a slowly, he murmured out that "I want that barfi," because he knew his parents would not allow him to buy those sweets like the ones which were laid out over there, and they would tell him that he was greedy. So without waiting for a yes or no from his parents, he moved on. A flower seller hawked a garland of gulmohar, a garland of gulmohar. This child seemed irresistibly drawn. He went towards the basket where the flowers lay heaped, and half murmured, "I want that garland." But he knew that his parents would refuse to buy him those flowers, because they would say that they were cheap. So without waiting for an answer, he moved on. So once again the child saw gulmohar garlands, and he wanted those, but he knew if he asked for those garlands, his parents would not buy them, because they were cheap flowers according to his parents. So again he moved on. Now what did he see? A man stood holding a pole with yellow, red, green and purple balloons flying from it. The child was simply carried away by the rainbow glory of the silken colors, and he was filled with an overwhelming desire to possess them all. But he well knew his parents would never buy him the balloons because they would say he was too old to play with such toys. So he walked on further. So, as you know, all little children love balloons, but the boy had passed that age where he would be playing with balloons, and he knew that his father would not buy balloons for him, even though the colors of the balloons were tempting him. And he walked on further. A snake charmer stood playing a flute to a snake which coiled itself in a basket, its head raised in a graceful bend like the neck of a swan, while the music stole into its invisible ears like the gentle rippling of an invisible waterfall. The child went towards the snake charmer, but knowing his parents had forbidden him to hear such coarse music as the snake charmer played, he proceeded further. So the next thing the child saw was a snake charmer, and all of you know, if a snake charmer is there with a snake there, then parents don't want their children to be out there with the snake charmer, because the snake charmer has snakes with him. The snake charmer was playing the flute, and the snake was bending its neck here and there, and he knew that his parents did not like it, so he went away from there also. Next thing what he saw was, there was a roundabout in full swing. Men, women and children, carried away in a whirling motion, shrieked and cried with dizzy laughter. The child watched them intently, and then he made a bold request. I want to go on the roundabout. Please, father, mother. So this time when the child looked up, he saw a roundabout, the ones where children sit on horses and the horses swing around like a merry-go-round. So he saw the roundabout. There were men, women and children all in a circle, in a whirling motion over there, and all were laughing and shouting on the roundabout. And the child knew, I want to sit on the roundabout now. And he made a very bold request. He told loudly, I want to go on the roundabout. And he also added, please, father and mother. And when he said those words, he looked up. There was no reply. He turned to look at his parents. They were not there. Ahead of him, he turned to look on either side. They were not there. He looked behind. There was no sign of them. When he shouted out his request, and he wanted his mother and father to allow him to go on the roundabout, he looked up. But what happened? His parents were not there. He looked here and there and everywhere. He couldn't see his parents at all. There was no sign of his parents. A full deep cry rose within his dry throat, and with a sudden jerk of his body, he ran from where he stood, crying in real fear. Mother, father! Tears rolled down from his eyes, hot and fierce. His flushed face was convulsed with fear. Panic-stricken, he ran to one side first, then to the other, hither and thither, in all directions, knowing not where to go. Mother, father, he wailed. His yellow turban came untied, and his clothes became muddy. So he looked here and there and tried to find his mother and father, but he could not see them at all. Now he started crying loudly, and his clothes became muddy, and he was wearing a yellow turban because it was the fair festival, and that also came untied, and he was so panic-stricken now. Having run to and fro in a rage of running for a while, he stood defeated, his cries suppressed into sobs. At little distances on the green grass, he could see through his filmy eyes men and women talking. He tried to look intently among the patches of bright yellow clothes, but there was no sign of his father and mother among these people, who seemed to laugh and talk just for the sake of laughing and talking. He went on looking in all directions for his father and mother. He could see people talking, he could see people walking here and there, he could see people wearing yellow clothes, but there was no sign. He could not find his father and mother. He ran quickly again, this time to a shrine to which people seemed to be crowding. Every little inch of space here was congested with men, but he ran through people's legs, his little sob lingering, mother, father, near the entrance to the temple. However, the crowd became very thick. Men jostled each other, heavy men with flashing, murderous eyes and hefty shoulders. The poor child struggled to thrust away between their feet, but knocked to and fro by the brutal movements, he might have been trampled underfoot had he not shrieked at the highest pitch of his voice, "Father! Mother!" A man in the surging crowd heard his cry and, stooping with great difficulty, lifted him up in his arms. So now what happened? He looked everywhere to find his mother and father. Then he saw that there was a temple nearby and many people were crowding near the temple. So he ran to the temple and there was full of men and they were full of very heavy men and their eyes were murderous and the people over there were really huge. And the small boy tried to move in between their feet and suddenly somebody knocked the boy and he fell down on the ground. And suddenly, when he fell down, he shouted loudly, "Father, mother!" And because he shouted loudly, the crowd which was around him stopped for a minute. And the man in that surging crowd, means the whole big crowd which was over there, he heard him cry. And with great difficulty, the man bent down and lifted this little boy up. "How did you get here, child? Whose baby are you?" the man asked. As he steered clear of the mass, the child wept more bitterly than ever now and only cried, "I want my mother, I want my father." So the man who picked him up asked him, "How did you get here? Whose baby are you?" But the boy was only crying more and more now, and he was only saying the sentences, "I want my mother and I want my father." The man tried to soothe him by taking him to the roundabout. "Will you have a ride on the horse?" he gently asked as he approached the ring. The child's throat tore into 1,000 shrill sobs and he only shouted, "I want my mother, I want my father." The man headed towards a place where the snake charmer still played on the flute to the swaying cobra. "Listen to that nice music, child," he pleaded. But the child shut his ears with his fingers and shouted his double-pitched strain, "I want my mother, I want my father." The man took him near the balloons, thinking the bright colors of the balloons would distract the child's attention and quieten him. "Would you like a rainbow-colored balloon?" he persuasively asked. The child turned his eyes from the flying balloons and just sobbed, "I want my mother, I want my father." So the man was a good man and he took the child to the roundabout and asked him if he wants to get on the horse and have a ride on it. And then he took him to the snake charmer and asked him to listen to the music of the snake charmer. And he took him to the balloon man and tried to buy a balloon for him. But all the time the child went on crying and said, "I just want my mother and father." Now the child did not want anything. He did not want to listen to the snake charmer. He did not want to go on the roundabout. He did not want the beautiful balloons. He just wanted his mother and father. The man, still trying to make the child happy, bore him to the gate where the flower seller sat. "Look, can you smell those nice flowers, child? Would you like a garland to put round your neck?" So he asked him, "Would you like a garland?" And the child he said, "No, no, I want only my mother and my father." So this poor man was trying to quieten the child. He was trying to give him something so that he would be quiet for some time. But the child was going on crying and crying bitterly. The child turned his nose from the basket and reiterated his sob, "I want my mother, I want my father," thinking to humor his disconsolate charge by a gift of sweets. The man took him to the counter of the sweet shop. "What sweets would you like, child?" he asked. The child turned his face from the sweet shop and only sobbed, "I want my mother, I want my father." So at last the man started taking him to a sweet shop and tried to buy him sweets which he liked. All children like sweets. So he tried to buy any sweet which you like so that he would stop crying. But again the child just wanted his mother and father and nobody else. So we find that the child has lost interest in all the beautiful things he liked earlier. And now he's only wanting to be with his parents and nothing else is pleasing him. So naturally, parents are the most important persons in a little child's life. And now the things which he loved earlier do not attract him anymore. Thank you once again. We'll meet in the next session. Bye.